Joe, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Evening. Tor, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Evening. Pablo, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? T, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Miles, what's up? How you doing, Christopher? Good to see you as well. How you been? How's things? Hi, Miles. Peter, good to see you. How you doing, Peter? How you been? Hyper, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, brother? Hello, Miles and family covetous. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Exciting times, Miles. Yes, it definitely is, Joe. I do agree. It definitely is. Regarding the amount of things that was signed today and announced today, and it was all relatively good news. We could have been expecting more in terms of regulations, but what did come out so far was good. But obviously, what really impacted the market space today was China deciding to, increase the whole tariff situation back onto the US, which is a losing battle for China, and they know it. But hello, Miles and family. Good to see you. What are you doing? Did you watch that conference, Miles? I saw segments of it, not the entire conference, but I do have the notes of what was discussed in that conference. Hi, Miles. How's things? Artistic, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? I'm good, thanks, Miles. Even better after listening to your reply from last night. Let's go, T. What's up, Miles? What's up, CMF? Kerry, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? T, did I reply to you last night? Or was I supposed to reply to you last night? If I did reply to you last night, that's good. If I forgot to reply to you last night, I'm sorry. I'll reply back to you after this live. What's up, Miles? What's up, CMF? Matt and Kerry, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? G, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles. And CMF, Dennis, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Happy Pisces, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Morning, Miles and CMF, good to see you. Shelly, how you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles and CMF. I hope everyone had a good day. Scott, let's go, brother. How you doing? How you been? I found you. Let's go, Elf. Elf, good to see you. How you doing? CMF, Elf is Erica. And so Elf Williams is Erica. She used to join into the CMF lives on TikTok days. And she's back on, essentially. She just found out that I do lives on YouTube and X. So now she's tuning in. So everyone welcome Erica inside the comment section. She just found the live again. Hi, Miles. Oh, did you see XRP Ledger was halted with ledgers not being validated? Back up now. No, I don't hear about that. Hi, Miles. Hope you're doing well today. Good to see you as well. Troy, how you been? How's things? Hey there, CMF. Let's go. Replay of the live. Sorry. Okay. About an hour ago. XRP Ledger had an issue about an hour ago. Is it resolved? I'm guessing so. Share the live. Let's go, Scott. Good evening, Miles and family. Good to see you. How you doing, Orphan? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Free and forever. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Evening, Miles and family. Ian, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Professor Miles and the rest of the XRP on. Let's go, Funky Brother. Good to see you as well. Everyone. Evening, Miles and CMF. Good to see you, Manny. How you doing? How you been? Hi, everyone. Let's go, Erica. Hello, everyone. Welcome back, Erica. Welcome. Let's go. Let's go. So, welcome to the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, the CMF stands for Crypto Miles Family, and my name is Miles. I go by the persona of Crypto Miles, and I'm the host of this live Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time. And on this live, I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, and regulations. Basically, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. I also do Q&As on this live as well, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. We're more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And the disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So, welcome to the CMF Live. If you're watching us for the first time, Evan, if you're a regular, good to see you back. So, sorry about that. I pressed the wrong button for a second. There we go. Okay, so sorry about that. I just suddenly went dark and came back again. lot of things have happened, essentially. A lot of things were signed, essentially. Regulation purposes in terms of stablecoins was mostly what was announced. The stockpile for cryptocurrencies was also announced as well. And a few other things were announced. But a lot of people are wondering, due to this whole announcements of stablecoin regulations and Congress coming together and senators coming together and passing so many things based on stablecoin regulations and crypto stockpiles and nothing else. And there is a lot of good news that did come out today, but why is the good news overshadowed in some sort of a way? The overshadowedness is coming actually from China, is what the issue is. Because during this whole battle situation with the tariffs, which essentially Trump is imposing tariffs on Canada, which already Canadian businesses, as I said yesterday, have caved to Trump's demands. They're all moving manufacturing into the US. And then you have Mexico also caving to Trump's demands, and El Salvador also partnering with Trump as well. And China decided to, instead of having a conversation with Donald Trump, to instead go up against Donald Trump. And that is what has caused the market to dip. A lot of people thought it was because they were expecting, enormous announcements to be arriving today from the regulation meetings, which we had great announcements come out of the regulation meeting, not what on the scale we were expecting, but baby steps essentially is what we had. But the reason why the market didn't react in a positive way, it should have reacted at least in a little bit of a positive way, but it didn't because of China's situation, where China decided to, instead of having a conversation with Trump over the phone, which is what was scheduled in, Trump was supposed to have a phone conversation with China today on the phone, but that didn't really go to plan, and China decided to instead sue the United States under the World Trade Organization, which Trump didn't really like, which is why it has caused the stock market and the crypto market to dump slightly, but not ridiculously. Now, how long is this dump going to last is the question, and not that long, max 24 hours or even 48 hours, stretching it. The market should be back to normal. Max stretching it to 48 hours. There's no way China and the US is going to go to a tariff war situation for months upon months. The max will stretch this to 48 hours. Realistically, should be 24 hours, just like the other tariff situation, which only lasted 24 hours inside the market space, to be fairly honest. Now, let's talk about what happened today, essentially, in the stablecoin regulations and policies that were essentially signed. And before also I say that, I'm still getting notifications. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's retweeted this live on X, because I'm getting notifications still. Thank you so much to everyone who's retweeted this live on X, who's put a comment outside the live on X, who's liked this live on X. And thanks so much to everyone on YouTube who's also watching, who's liked this live as well. Now, let's go through the first news, and then we'll go into the comment section. And the first news is what was discussed essentially today, which is this. Stablecoins can secure US dollar dominance. Trump's crypto essentially Caesar that was announced today. David Sachs, Trump's crypto chosen person, said stablecoins could potentially strengthen the US dollar dominance just hours after Senator Hagrid proposed the Genius Act, which we're going to go through what is exactly the Genius Act on tonight's live, the act that was announced today. So the White House AI and essentially crypto Caesar, David Sachs, hosted a press conference today alongside other GOP's officials to outline President Donald Trump's vision for America's digital asset landscape. David Sachs essentially stated that stablecoins, fiat-pegged dollars running on blockchains could help reinforce global US dollar dominance. Policy discussions on matters that suggest that new regulations may require market participants to hold almost essentially exclusively in the US Treasury bills. Developments essentially on February 4th indicate that Congress may prioritize stablecoin regulations under Trump's administration. Indeed, Senator Bills essentially Hagrid introduced the Genius Act to clarify rules and essentially establish standards for critical sector of crypto transactions. And responding to the question of Trump's Bitcoin essentially reserve promises, is there going to be a Bitcoin reserve? It's still no. It's going to be a crypto stockpile, which means it's going to be a collective basket of cryptocurrencies. Sachs essentially said that they're exploring the feasibility of the reserve for a Bitcoin reserve or essentially a crypto stockpile reserve, and that is essentially their top priority for the crypto council space right now. The US is currently the largest sovereign BTC holder, of approximately 207,000 bitcoins, mostly acquired from seizing essentially other platforms. A proposal from Senator Cynthia Luminous would enlarge the stockpile and change the laws to allow the Treasury Department to hold Bitcoin. David Sachs, however, declined to comment on whether the US sovereign fund would accumulate cryptocurrencies also. And he said, you'll have to ask soon-to-be Commerce Secretary Howard Lupton about that essentially question rather than David Sachs. Also present at the press conference with David Sachs was Senate Banking Committee Chair Tim Scott, House Official Services Committee Chair French Hill, Senate Agriculture Committee essentially Chair John Bozeman, and House Agriculture Committee Chair G.T. Thompson. And Representatives Hill confirmed that both chambers of Congress plan to accelerate and coordinate crypto plans and crypto policy developments through joint working groups. During the conference, the four pro-crypto lawmakers announced that for the first time ever, the committees have established some sort of dedicated subcommittees focused on digital assets, something that the United States pretty much never had. There's a lot of things the United States pretty much never had that we're getting right now, which is one of them being the crypto task force that was created overnight by the SEC and Hester Pierce being in charge of it from the SEC. So that should have been, good news inside the crypto space. The US, with all the representatives there coming out and saying, we're going to bring out the stablecoin regulations. We're going to be doing a sovereign fund. We're going to be doing essentially a crypto stockpile. They didn't mention which crypto projects or if they're going to buy any or they're going to use their seized projects. Most likely they're going to buy some, but probably American projects. But that should have been some sort of a good news. And the reason it wasn't is because, again, it's because of that whole Chinese situation where China decided to sue the United States, which is a ridiculous lawsuit, to be fairly honest. And nobody really listens to the World Essential Organization, to be fairly honest as well. But adding on top of that, if you want to know what is this whole Genius Act, this new law that's coming up in the US, what is the Genius Act even about? So Senator agreed to introduce the Genius Act for stablecoin rules. The Senator bill will introduce a bill on Tuesday to establish a framework for stablecoins, a type of cryptocurrency that stays stable by being backed by the US dollars or other assets. Other assets could be yields and treasury bonds. The bill is called the Guiding and Establishing the National Innovation for US Stablecoins, or Genius Act. Senator Christian, Tim Scott, and Senator Cynthia Luminous also supported the bill. As per the bill, it aims to provide a predictable regulatory framework that encourages innovation and supports President Donald Trump's goal of making the U.S. a leader for cryptocurrencies. The legislation also outlines rules for issuing stablecoin payments, and it requires stablecoin payments to be backed with cash, treasury, bills, and other safe assets like yield bonds. Companies issuing stablecoins must also submit essentially monthly audits reports on their reserves with if they don't, they'll be facing penalties, and also it could be some imprisonment situations as well, which essentially means that Tether USDT will never be able to get a green light in the US, because number one rule pretty much for a US stablecoin is to be fully audited and to show transparency every month. Tether rejected to show transparency once to the EU in general. So the idea of Tether showing full transparency every month to the US, it's never going to happen. So USDT is pretty much going to be banned in the US also. There's a given. The stablecoin market reached a value of $205 billion by the end of 2024. The market is mainly dominated by cryptocurrency firms Tether Holdings and Canton Fig Squad, owned by incoming Commerce Secretary Howard Lupton, who also holds a stake in Tether. The bill would require stablecoin issuers to submit monthly audit reports on their reserves, and providing false information would lead to criminal penalties. So even if essentially Tether decides to falsify their holdings of their reserves, they could be facing massive charges or even penalties in terms of sentencing. And regulators have raised concerns about whether stablecoin issuers like Tether's USDT have enough reserves to handle large withdrawals during market stress. And the reality of it is no. Non-bank stablecoin issuers would be regulated by the Office of Control of the Currency, which is the OCC essentially, a bureau within the Treasury Department. Trump has promised to support the crypto industry by reducing regulations, essentially appointing crypto-friendly officials. Trump once doubted crypto a long time ago, but he changed his stance in 2024 elections with crypto executives supporting his campaign. And he also stopped working on the idea of CBDCs for the time being, which sees as a rival to stablecoins. While his order did create essentially a group to suggest new crypto laws, Congress must approve actual policy changes that's going to be happening. Both Democrats and Republicans are interested in the stablecoin bill. is about to be passed inside the United States. And Trump's approach is very different from former President Biden, who was very skeptical of the idea of cryptocurrencies and focused more on investigations and enforcements rather than bringing in innovation inside the essential United States. So if you didn't know essentially regarding what is the Genius Act, well, the Genius Act is very simple, which they're going to be introducing inside the United States. And apparently Democrats and Republicans are both on board on the idea of stablecoin. The Genius Act bill. The Genius Act bill basically means any stablecoin that wants to operate in the United States has to show full reserves every month. They have to be audited every month, showing that they do have the reserves to back their own stablecoin. And which means certain stablecoins will not be able to operate inside the United States in any sort of a way. One of them being USDT, guaranteed not going to be operating in the US at all. I knew that was going to happen for a fact because the EU banned USDT for a reason. The G20 essentially establishment and G20 countries all under the same rules, you could pretty much say, because they signed the same declaration at G20 summit in New Delhi, where they all have the same sets of rules when it comes to cryptocurrencies, some minor differences in terms of regulation. So the EU banning USDT, banning them essentially is an indication of other G20 countries that is going to be banning USDT as well. And it's very simple. It's because Tether doesn't want to show its holdings. The day we find out Tether actually doesn't have the holdings it claims to have, it's going to be a Black Friday sale on the crypto space. Simplest way to put it. Now, let's go inside the comment section before we go through the next news. The next news is regarding the DeFi space in terms of regulations as well. Let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the next news. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. More than happy to answer any questions you may have. We've had a couple just recently all of a sudden find the live from TikTok days. It's good. Welcome to the internet of value 3.0. Let's go, Ian. Miles, maybe you should put another reminder on TikTok. Yeah, I think I should. I'm glad you're back, Erica. Let's go. Evening, Miles and CMF peeps. Hope all is well. Sempre good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hello to my CMF on YouTube. Good to see you as well. Scott, how you doing? How you been? Miles, it is so much manipulation out there. It is very hard to believe. Okay, I understand. Manipulation is always going to be there, and it's going to be a lot more, especially now, because we're getting good news and bad news at the exact same time. So the good news coming out essentially in terms of the crypto space and regulations, and it's, for example, the SEC today essentially got rid of 50 lawyers from the SEC's department because they don't need to sue crypto companies anymore. So the SEC actually sacked 50 SEC commissioner lawyers because they're not going after crypto companies anymore. So on one side, we're getting good news. The SEC is slowing down the regulation process. The CFTC is becoming more friendly, and the FDIC is becoming more friendly. And then today we had the announcement of regulations for cryptocurrencies for stablecoins starting off with, and the crypto stockpile and the sovereign wealth fund, and all being good news. And at the same time, we're getting tariff news, which it needs to happen. The tariff news needs to happen so we can get it out of the way. And tariffs need to happen. A lot of people are against the idea of tariffs, but it needs to happen. It's the only way Trump is going to be able to control everything moving forward, and it's by the power of tariffs. It's the best thing he's ever, pretty much the best thing he's ever came up with. Even though he tried to do that the last time he was president, but then COVID happened, which made tariffing countries quite difficult. But there's a lot of manipulation in play. We have good news and bad news pretty much coming at the same time. Today we had good news, stablecoin regulations. That's going to be passed inside the United States. Both Democrats and Republicans are on board. Good news. At the same time, China decides to sue the United States. Even Miles and CMF. Jason, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles and CMF. Stormy, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? David Sachs' speech is overshadowed by tariff wars. Pretty much, yes. Morning, Miles and CMF. Solomon, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Lena, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? I just got logged out by YouTube. That's a bit weird. Hi, Miles and CMF. George, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? David Sachs' speech was also overshadowed by the international criminal who is with Trump at the moment from his He-Man. Hi, man. How you doing, Morton? Miles, Rose, and Graf. Do you have any thoughts on either of them? I don't know what Rose's developments are, if they're signing any sort of new contracts or if they have any sort of new licensings. But Graph is a great project inside the data and Web3 stage and AI. A great project to look into, no doubt about it. Do you know about Laxis Immediate? Hey man, can you help me if this Laxis Immediate is genuine? Is that a crypto project? If it is, Martin, put it outside the live, comment outside the live, and I'll look into it and reply back to your comment outside the live. Miles, what about TIA? Tariffs AI? Most likely, probably not. Okay, let me look into. Scott, put a comment outside the live. I'll take a look into it as well. Okay, just want to verify if Laxis Immediate is a genuine site. Martin, if it's a website, put the website link in your comment outside the live, and I'll take a look at it straight after the live. I'll take a look at it and reply back to you. Even Miles, Davey, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Market doesn't seem to be reacting like it used to regarding news. Positive news comes out, and then market does the opposite. Yes, and again, it's because there's good news coming out at the same time as bad news is coming out. The market reacts to the bad news rather than the good news. It depends. If the good news is very good, then it can overshadow the bad news. But unfortunately, China decided to sue the United States instead of having a conversation, because Xi Jinping was supposed to have a conversation with Trump today on the phone, and he decided not to do that, instead sue the United States and impose higher tax on essentially the United States, whereas Trump only decided to do 10% on China. Trump was doing China a favor by giving them only 10% in tariffs. But China decided to go one step above Trump, and it's not going to really end well for China, I'll be very honest. China is going to realize why nobody wants to mess with Trump very soon. Now, US prosecutors is what we're going to be talking about next in terms of the DeFi space. US prosecutors must rethink their DeFi stance. Now, this is a perspective coming in from A16Z. The United States Department of Justice should stop holding decentralized finance protocols accountable for wrongdoings they didn't essentially investigate and can't control venture capital firm A16Z. A16Z, a capital venture, a VC company, has came out and said that the United States Department should not be suing DeFi spaces because of how they're being used. For example, oil companies don't get sued because their oil is being used in weapons. Or, you could go either way, essentially. Cutlery companies don't get sued because their knives could be used for something else, and so on and so on. You get the picture. Just because I create something for good and somebody uses it for evil, it's not really my fault, because it was intended to be used for good purposes, is what essentially they're trying to say. The DeFi space is essentially being created for good intentions. But if it gets used by bad actors, DeFi platforms should not be sued, is what A16Z is talking about. Now, they are a massive VC company who came up with their perspective today. So this is what they said: holding people responsible for systems and activities over what they essentially exercise, no agency or control leads to preserve outcomes. Unfortunately, the Department of Justice, the DOJ, has ignored this distinction and is attempting to do just that by holding software developers responsible for their actions of their third parties and their use of natural tools the developers originally created but no longer control. The VC firm said that the new US presidential administration's biggest policy priority for crypto should be codifying the proper and legally correcting an understanding of control in law. This is particularly important in determining whether crypto companies qualify as money transmitting businesses, which also is subject to specific rules and obligations, A16Z said. A16Z portfolio venture investment spawns around 100 crypto companies. This is how much they've invested. A16Z has invested into over 100 companies in the blockchain space, including decentralized exchanges, DEXs such as Uniswap, for example. Under former US President Joe Biden, federal agencies took aggressive regulatory stance towards cryptocurrencies. For instance, the SEC essentially suing over 100 crypto firms. And US President Donald Trump, who began his term on January 20th, has promised to make America the capital of cryptocurrencies and to replace agency heads with more industry-friendly opponents. In past legal actions, US prosecutors sought to hold cryptocurrency developers liable for activities conducted on their platforms by others. In its January blog post, A16Z compared to essentially to holding a car manufacturer accountable for actions by a driver that resulted in a crash, for example. It wouldn't make sense to hold car makers responsible for bad driving of their vehicles. Same goes for blockchain. It wouldn't make sense to essentially hold developers responsible if their platform in the DeFi space is being used for bad intentions. Unlike centralized exchanges like Coinbase, DEXs, such as essentially Uniswap, do not retain control over the protocol or the ability to control how third parties use it. Understanding this essentially crucial distinction is to establish a clear and fair foundation so that crypto entrepreneurs and developers can build inside the United States. He's basically saying this is one of the biggest essentially issues right now, whereas essentially the DeFi space is being not looked into as much as it should be. He's saying that we are looking into stable coins inside the United States, which is great. We're looking into crypto stockpiles, great. But they're saying essentially A16Z's founders are coming out and saying that the American, in terms of regulations, they're not really looking into the DeFi space, and that the DeFi space is quite crucial to be regulated also because of the previous administration who was suing the DeFi platforms, for example, like Uniswap, because people were using Uniswap for bad intentions. And it's not really Uniswap's fault because Uniswap isn't a company, it's just a line of code, for example. Makes a lot of sense. But in my opinion, they're definitely going to be bringing out essentially some sort of regulations for the DeFi space as well. Every market space involving blockchain is definitely going to get regulated, and the DeFi space is pretty much next, in my opinion. Now, the next news we are going to be talking about is regarding Coinbase. But before we go for the Coinbase news, let's go inside the comment section first because we're getting some interesting comments coming in. Let's go inside the comment section first. By the way, I read everybody's comments one by one and then essentially give a response to everyone. So if you do have any questions, don't be shy. Put it down inside the comment section. So let's see what's going on inside the comment section. Davey, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening. How you been? Okay, sure. And Shelly, yes, that is true regarding because good news and bad news. Okay, sure. Trust the crypto, bro. Let's go, Papa. Does the tariff news benefit me or benefit Trump, or only benefit Trump? Great question, Chozo. Does the tariffs news benefit retail people, or does it only benefit Trump? It benefits everyone, especially if you're a United States citizen. The simplest way to explain how tariffs work and how it's so beneficial for citizens of the United States and also citizens around the world, to pretty much be fairly honest, because then one organization gets to control the price of everything. Let me make it very simple for you. So, tariffs. For example, America is not manufacturing as much as they should be, which means a lot of people are jobless. Even though the Biden administration was claiming that, there's so many jobs in the United States and, a lot of people have good jobs, in reality, they don't. So, America needs more manufacturers, a lot more manufacturers in place, because that could essentially create more jobs for the United States and build their GDP going higher and higher. How would they do that when all the manufacturing is now outside the United States? By imposing tariffs. For example, they would put tariffs on Canada, as they did. And the tariffs that they put on Canada, let's just say in this instance is 10%, but in reality it's like 15, 25%. So the tariffs that they put on Canada, let's just presume is 10%. That means that American businesses would have to pay 10% extra to buy Canadian products, which in your eyes, that might seem bad. American businesses have to pay more money to buy things from Canada, like 10% extra or 20% extra or so on. How's that good for America? Well, the good part about it is that Canadian businesses will understand that nobody's going to buy from them anymore, and that American businesses would rather manufacture from within than buy from another country, which will boost America's economy. Which also will do is that the Canadian businesses will struggle because no longer is American businesses buying from them, or American retail section is buying from Canada because they have to pay more. So American citizens will rather buy within the country and manufacture within the country because it's cheaper, which will make the Canadian businesses go, okay, we need to move our manufacturing to America because nobody's buying our products for a higher price point when they could get it for cheaper, manufactured in the US. So tariffs put short-term pressure on the citizens of the United States, but long-term wise, extremely beneficial. So when Trump is putting tariffs, that's how it pretty much works in the most simplest way. But that part, essentially, CNN will never tell you. I saw a interview once where people who are, liberals or Democrats were doing interviews on the street, and they got a few random businessmen, and they said, businessmen, explain to the regular folks how tariff works. And the businessmen said, well, it's going to be more expensive for US citizens. It's going to be bad for the US economy. It's going to be bad for the US businesses because nobody wants to buy, essentially. Our businesses will have to pay more money to buy Canadian products or more money to buy Mexican products and so on and so on. And it was all a load of BS. And reality is that it makes the American businesses manufacture from within the US and buy from within the US, which will bring the prices down. And also makes the other businesses in Canada, Mexico, China, or whatever start manufacturing back in the US, which will boost the United States GDP, which also will put the United States in control of price, which will lower prices eventually. It will lower prices for vehicles. It will lower prices essentially for agriculture, farmers, everything. Prices will come down slowly, slowly. But that's how tariffs pretty much work. It's the most simplest way to put it. It increases prices for businesses and retail people to buy from other countries in America. But in the long term, those manufacturers will decide to build within the United States, and they already did. Just within 24 hours, Canadian food products decided to manufacture within the US because they lost out on sales. That is how tariffs work. In 24 hours, Canadian food products decided to manufacture their food products in America from then on because they already lost business. Because American businesses will not pay the extra money to buy those food products anymore. So that's how it pretty much works. So is tariffs beneficial for Trump or is it beneficial for the people? It's beneficial for the people. Trump is doing everything he's doing for the people. The guy doesn't need to benefit anything from himself. He's a billionaire. He couldn't care less about himself. He has more money than you could pretty much imagine. Anyone can pretty much imagine. I could even imagine. Trump has more money than anybody can pretty much imagine. He couldn't care less about making more money. What he is caring about is fixing a broken economy and then eventually fixing a broken world. So he's doing tariffs not for his own benefit, or he's not doing them for a laugh. He's doing it to fix a broken economy where corporates were dictating price points. But because of tariffs, no longer possible. Slowly, slowly, Trump will be dictating those price points. Now, also in the basis of if you live in different countries, it's going to be short-term pressure, but your presidents and prime ministers will cave to Trump's demands because they have no choice. They literally have no choice. So that's how it's beneficial for you. Short-term volatility, but long-term, it's excellent. Because if we don't do tariffs and the world continues the way it is, the world's already heading pretty much. Prices are always going to go high. Everything's skyrocketing. No one will be able to afford anything. The world is already in a doomed place. And we're already just going downhill and downhill. We're just digging deeper and deeper and deeper. But tariffs will cause short-term volatility, but put the world back on its track and recover. Or we can continue with no tariffs and just dig deeper. And there'll be nothing left and everybody's pretty much done for. So it's either dig deeper for eternity or short-term volatility and then everything's fixed. But again, CNN will never tell you that. Because CNN tries to produce brain-dead people, viewership, rather than intelligent viewership. Benefits you in the midterm. Irrelevant one says benefits you. So that's basically what it shows on. So it benefits everyone. Benefits you in the midterm, in mid to long term, mate. Might be a bit rough to start though, true, which is fine. It's long overdue. Tariffs will be a very good thing over time. Facts. Absolutely facts. Hi, Miles and family. Alex, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? I'm a UK citizen, and Trump said he's going to put tariffs on the UK and the EU. So that means I have to pay more for everything, and this tariff news destroyed my portfolio. I can't see any benefits for me. Incorrect. And Trump has said that he's going to impose 0 tariffs on the United Kingdom. Believe it or not. He mentioned it today. He said he's going to impose 0 tariffs on the United Kingdom. He's going to impose 10% tariffs on the EU, but 0 tariffs essentially on the United Kingdom. But even on, if imposing tariffs on the EU, or even if he did on the UK, it's still good. Short-term volatility, long-term beneficial. The long-term beneficial is that the UK will no longer have to buy their oil, for example, from India, who gets it from Russia. You see what I'm going with this? Long-term beneficial. Because now, for example, the UK is getting their oil from India. India is getting it from Russia. And for some oddly reason, we can't get it directly from Russia because that's bad. But if Russian oil gets sold to India and then we pay double the price to India, that's okay. But when Trump does tariffs, he puts pressures on countries where therefore that country will now only buy from the US, which means our oil prices will come down. Fuel prices will come down eventually. Food prices will come down eventually. But if we don't do tariffs, what we're in right now, it's going to get worse. So tariffs is short-term volatility for everyone, long-term beneficial. But if we don't do tariffs, everything will skyrocket even more. So he's basically putting pressure on countries to stop doing dumb things. Because even the EU is buying oil from India, and India is buying it from Russia and selling it higher to us and selling it higher to the EU. And it's just ridiculous. The whole setup is stupid. It's like sitting at a dinner table. The simplest metaphor I can use is like sitting at a dinner table with a family member you don't like across you, and then you have a family member who you do like is sitting next to you. And you tell the family member next to you to pass the salt that's basically next to the family member you don't like. And the family member you don't like passes the salt to the family member you do like, and then the family member that you do like passes the salt to you, when you could just directly get the salt from the person in front of you. It's the simplest metaphor I could put to you. That's basically what's happening right now. And that's why we're paying double the price of everything. Because we can get our agriculture from Russia. We can get our oil from Russia. Cheap. But we don't. Instead, we get it from India, which India gets it from Russia. So Trump is going to put an end to stupidity in the world. So tariffs are actually a good thing because it puts pressure on countries to stop being dumb. That's basically what the whole idea of tariffs are. So, chill zone. Tariffs, actually a good thing. And he's going to put 0 on the UK, which makes sense because Washington, D.C. is a province outside of America, which is the capital of politics. City of London is a province outside the UK, the capital of money, and the Vatican being the capital of religion, which makes sense, I think, on the reasons of why he didn't impose any tariffs on the UK. They're all sitting at the same dinner table. Hi, Miles and family. Alex, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? But yeah, chosen, that's why it's beneficial for you. Because our prices will also come down. Good day, Miles and CMF. How was your day? Mike, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? How's things? Just don't watch CNN. Pretty much, yeah. Don't watch CNN. Don't watch ABC. Don't watch any of them garbage. Yeah, I agree, 100%. Did he mention Australia? No news on Australia yet, if he's going to do tariffs or not. Miles, let's be honest, CNN, like Fox, NBC, ABC, CBS, all of them are not good sources. I agree 1,000,000%. Let's go, Scott. I agree. Facts. Now, if you like Trump supporter, if you're a Trump supporter, then you may disagree. No, all of them are bad, I'll be honest. Fox is getting better. Fox is getting better on actually showing real news, but the rest of them are just showing absolute garbage. I agree. Got it. Let's go, Chozone. I'm a Democrat and more of a centric, so I won't allow you to paint all the Democrats as bad or unintelligent. That is false narrative. I hear this daily. Come on, man. Let's be honest. I agree. Look, there are some there's intelligent and there's good and bad people on both sides. I agree. There's good and bad people on both sides. I'm in the UK, and I can honestly say I cannot remember seeing any product besides fuel saying "Made in the US." I am probably the only Democrat on here, pretty much. I'm not a Harris or Biden fan. I know. Why are we discussing politics? Leave it at the door. This is crypto. Let's go simple. Even if I was a CMF, Pierce, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? That's because politics correlates with crypto, and how it correlates with crypto is because what China has did today is why the market is slightly down by suing the United States. UK is US's right hand, pretty much. Why is ACH still good if it's on ETH and doesn't have its own chain? The reason why ACH is still good is because the multitude of licensings it has in place, which is beneficial for it once regulations are coming in, essentially slowly now. Once regulations fully come in, projects that have licensings, it will make them easier for them to operate in that, rather than platforms that don't have licensing. There's a good news station and it's called CMF Live Show. Let's go, JP. Facts. Now, Coinbase. Moving on, essentially, from that to Coinbase. Coinbase's CLO is going to testify in the Senate. Coinbase's CLO is going to testify in the Senate hearing on crypto banking crackdown. Now, as you may have heard, Coinbase has been going essentially up against the FDIC, trying to make the FDIC essentially reveal their documentations on how they essentially stifled crypto and banking altogether. So Coinbase's chief legal officer, Paul, is set to testify before the Senate Banking Committee in an upcoming hearing on Operation Choke Point 2.0. The session is scheduled for February 6th, which essentially will include other key figures such as Mara Holdings CEO Fred, and lawmakers will also examine claims of financial restrictions imposed on crypto firms. The Senate and House of Representatives will hold essentially on Operation Choke Point 2.0. The House of Financial Services Committee will feature essentially testimonies from Austin Campbell, CEO of WSPN, along with Paul and Theo. Lawmakers have also indicated that more witnesses may be added to the case. And the Senate Banking essentially GOP hearing will include Nathan, the CEO of Anchorage Digital, Stefan from Davis Wright Termin LLP, Mike Ring from Old Glory Bank, and Aaron, essentially from Booking Institutions. The hearing is aimed to scrutinize allegations that regulatory agencies sought to isolate crypto industries from banking services. Coinbase has uncovered internal documents from the Federal Deposit Insurance Commission, FDIC, that suggest efforts to pressure banks into cutting off financial services for crypto firms. Paul, legal team from Coinbase, played a pivotal role in securing these essentially undocumented documentations, which may provide new insights into the regulatory actions against crypto-related businesses. Anchorage Digital CEO, a federally chartered essentially crypto bank, has also faced challenges linked to these restrictions inside the United States. Testimonies from industry leaders are expected to shed light on the extent of banking blockades and its impact on their business operations within the sector as well. Bitcoin mining firms have also been affected by regulatory scrutiny in the past, with Fred essentially expected to highlight the difficulties faced by industry players. And during the hearings, regulators will also have to demonstrate if they have overreached their essentially mandates regarding financial restrictions for cryptocurrencies in the entire industry. And the movement to investigate the recent restrictions against crypto companies continues to intensify. Representatives French Hill previously pledged to probe these claims, while the current administration has expressed interest in reviewing the actions of regulatory agencies. With baptism attention on the issue, the hearing could play a key role in shaping future regulations and addressing concerns about financial access for crypto businesses. So, on the most simplest way, the most simplest thing to say is that Coinbase is going to be coming together in front of the Senate, explaining how banks were stifling through the FDIC. Now, obviously, the FDIC chairman has resigned the moment Trump came into power, but they still want to reveal the documentations on if it's still happening behind the scenes. and that people should be essentially made aware of this matter. And if it isn't, then that's great. But if it still is, or if there's somebody still in the banking committee that wants to stifle cryptocurrencies, they want to get to the bottom of it now before it spreads like wildfire again and the whole banking committee starts stifling cryptocurrencies, which I don't think they will do under Trump's policies or under Trump's administration. But even if there's a small chance of anybody being a traitor inside the banking committee, it's better to find out now than later on, because those documents might also reveal some names of people inside the FDIC who helped stifle banks and cryptos from not working together. Now, Hester Pierce is what we're going to talk about next. Hester Pierce writes, "The journey begins." The SEC has came out with a bold statement that the crypto journey is beginning now, which again got overshadowed by the whole China news situation in the crypto space. So, the US Securities Exchange Commission, Hester Pierce, published a new paper today outlining key objectives for the agency's newly created crypto task force that was created overnight when Gary Gensler left. In the paper titled "The Journey Begins," Hester Pierce acknowledges that the SEC has struggled to define its approach to cryptocurrencies. Over the past decade, regulatory uncertainty, inconsistent policies, and legal issues have shaped the crypto landscape the way it is now. However, she views the launch of the Crypto Task Force, which she is leading, as an opportunity to move forward and create a framework that balances innovation and investor protection. She said, "It took us a long time to get into this mess, and it is going to take us some time to get out of it. The Commission has engaged with the crypto industry in one of their forms of another or more than a decade." She wrote the key objectives. So here is the key objectives essentially from the Crypto Task Force that was created overnight and that Hester Pierce is now stating, "The crypto journey begins now." A statement from the SEC. Hester Pierce is advocating for a more structured approach and has outlined several key objectives. And here's the objectives. Clarifying the security status of crypto assets. Finally, are we going to have crypto assets that are basically commodities or securities? Clarifying that matter, full stop, is what's going to happen. No more suing crypto projects to find out if they're securities or not. They're going to clarify right at the beginning. This consists of you being a security. This will mean you're a commodity, full stop. No more suing you to find out. Providing temporary relief for token issuers. Creating viable registration pathways. In the previous administration, if anybody wanted to, get some sort of a licensing from the SEC or approval, that they applied to the SEC, and the SEC was supposed to give them some sort of approval. But instead, the SEC will send them a Wells notice and sue them into the ground. Well, that's no longer going to happen. According to the new SEC website, crypto companies can sign up on the new SEC website, and they'll actually get guidance and put on the correct path. No more suing them into the ground. So that's what it basically means regarding creating a viable registration for their pathway because of their new website. Updating broker-dealer regulations, which was definitely needed. Addressing custody rules for investment advisors. Defining regulations for crypto lending and staking, which is definitely was needed without a doubt, which is one of the things that was essentially missing from the Ethereum ETF. And that's one of the main reasons why Ethereum ETFs did poorly, because they didn't offer any sort of services, one of them being staking. Improving crypto exchange ETF products, enhancing clearing and settlements for tokenized securities, encouraging international collaborations, identifying areas outside of the SEC's jurisdiction, which essentially means that if it's outside of the SEC's jurisdiction, then that means the CFTC will probably be in their jurisdiction and so on. And that the SEC isn't going to go around, what Gary Gensler essentially did and go above and beyond and try to sue anything. While Hester Pierce acknowledges that the road ahead will be challenging, she remains optimistic that collaborations could lead to a more predictable and innovation-friendly regulatory environment for the United States. She said, "If we collaborate, the journey will be rewarding. This is the beginning of the conversation, one we do not want to have just with ourselves," she concluded. This is amazing news, with the SEC coming out and saying this is the beginning of the crypto journey. The words that most people thought they'll never hear from the SEC, and now we're hearing it. The beginning of the crypto journey was announced by the SEC today. And on the topic of the SEC, acting SEC Chairman Mark has named 3 appointees to agency's new crypto task force, which Hester Peirce is in charge, and 3 more people have been chosen. And here are the 3 people. The US Securities Exchange Commission, SEC acting Chairman Mark, unveiled a list of the agency's newly appointed executive staff today, including 3 members for the crypto task force. 2 of the task force appointees come from within the SEC's ranks. Richard, essentially, who firmly served as a counsel to crypto-friendly task force head commissioner. Hester Peirce will also be his chief to staff, as well as a senior advisor to Mark. Taylor Usher, essentially who was previously a senior policy advisor to Mark, will be a task force chief policy advisor. And the other named appointee, Landon Zinda, who essentially will be a counsel to Mark and a senior advisor for the crypto task force, previously served as a policy director for crypto think tank Coin Center. Prior to his work for the Coin Center, Zinda also worked for 2 crypto-friendly congressmen, Senator Pat and essentially Rep Tom Hemmer. The SEC announced the formation of their new crypto task force last month, just 1 day after former chairman Gary Gensler left and stepped down. And they said that they're essentially going to be developing a comprehensive and clear regulatory framework for crypto assets moving forward. And we'll closely essentially watch both Congress and the crypto industry come together with the CFTC's help to regulate the space at a much more faster rate. The formation of the crypto task force comes as the agency's overhaul its approach to crypto regulations, moving away from practice of so-called regulations by enforcements to actual regulation purposes. To date, the SEC has relied primarily on enforcement actions to regulate the crypto space in essentially indefinite, and often adapting to a novel and untested legal essentially interpretations along the way. The SEC said in a press statement, clarity regarding who must register and practical solutions for those seeking to register being essentially the top priority. And the result has been a confusion about what is legal, what creates an environment hostile to innovation and conceived as fraud. The SEC can do better, she said. And it definitely can. It definitely is going to by the looks of it. So the SEC stating this is the beginning of the crypto journey and outlining 10 things they're going to be doing for the SEC. And also another thing that the SEC did today was fire, as I said earlier on the live, that 50 people from the SEC were all lawyers got sacked today. They were all fired today because the SEC is no longer going to be an agency of enforcement actions of just suing crypto companies as much as they can. That is completely coming to a stop by the looks of it because they fired 50 lawyers in 1 day. Now, also, on the topic of the SEC being a lot more crypto friendly and making some major announcements today, and today also being the same day that Congress made those announcements regarding crypto regulations and regulations for stablecoins and the Genius Act, the CFTC decided to step in as well and give their perspectives in the market space. And it looks like they've completely slowed down also. After SEC, another US institution completely erases traces of cryptocurrency hostility from the past. The US Commodities Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, is set to announce a major reconstructing of its enforcement division in a move that could have significant implications for the cryptocurrency industry. Because the SEC fired 50 lawyers, they're pretty much thinking about doing the exact same thing. The change aims to end the controversial practice of essentially regulations through enforcement, while improving the agency's ability to combat fraud, manipulation, and other market abuses. Eleanor Torrent, a cryptocurrency journalist, reported that the CFTC will replace its previous enforcement task force with 2 new divisions: the Complex Fraud Task Force and the Individual Fraud and General Enforcement Task Force. The Complex Fraud Task Force from the CFTC will oversee all investigations, inquiries, and litigations related to complex fraud and market manipulation, essentially across all asset classes. And the Deputy Director, Paul, has also been appointed as the chief for this task force. The reconstructing is also designed to prevent the agency from becoming overextended and to ensure greater consistency and fairness, essentially, and due process, a CFTC press person said. The move is seen as an effort to increase regulatory clarity and optimize agency resources instead. That is essentially what was announced by the CFTC straight after the SEC announcing the hostilities completely went away, and the SEC is a lot more crypto friendly as it ever was before. And firing 50 lawyers was an indication of they're not coming for enforcement by action anymore. They're coming on, by showing peace signs, for example, to the crypto space. The CFTC, by looking at the actions that the SEC did, they decided to go through the same footpath and create crypto-friendly task force instead of a crypto enforcement task force, which they had previously. A lot of good things are happening inside the crypto space. A lot of good things. Today the announcements from Congress, it was great. The Genius Act was actually a good path. SEC announcing 10 steps they're going to be taking from their crypto task force was great. Announcing that this is the beginning of the crypto journey, that was a great start. CFTC following their footsteps and essentially creating crypto-friendly task force. The SEC creating, getting rid of 50 lawyers to show they're not coming here, once again to sue the crypto space to the ground. But all that good news was slightly overshadowed by this one, which was China's news. So all of that good news should have put the market on a good stage, but it didn't. Instead, the market dipped slightly due to this. China strikes back. Bitcoin slides, and the cryptocurrency space slides with it slightly, as China retaliates against US tariffs. So here it is. Following the latest reports news as came out, Bitcoin was down 2.5% today during the morning Asia hours and fell to 98,500 as hostilities escalated. It went down after China allegedly issued a series of retaliating measures, tariffs on the US, and the antitrust investigation against US tech firms like Google, among other news. News about the spurring trade wars between US and China affected traditional and digital market space in general. The trigger was US President Donald Trump's decision to impose 10% tariffs on Chinese imports. Beijing hit back, slapping 15% duty on US coal and LNG, and 10% on crude oil coming in from the United States, in agriculture machinery, pickup trucks, and large engine cars. This series of economic moves shocked not only the diplomatic relationships, but also the investor sentiment globally. While it seemed initially unfazed, the crypto market was later affected by the tensions. Now, some people might be thinking about themselves, looking at China hitting back America stronger. America only imposes 10% tax, 10% tariffs on China. China hits back with 15% tariffs on pretty much everything. And I'll be honest, China is standing on its last leg. They have a massive real estate issue, and China can't withstand this. I don't know what it is. Every country knows it's a losing battle to go up against Trump, and they're all going to cave. So I don't understand the showboating that comes from these countries, because every single one of them is going to cave. Mexico, after that showboating of Trump cannot bully us into doing whatever they want and so on, Mexico caved within 24 hours after that big bold speech they did. Canadian businesses caved within 24 hours. And then now you have China essentially coming out and saying, Trump's going to do 10% tariffs, we're going to do 15%. China standing us on its last leg because their real estate bubble is enormous. And they're going to cave. So what is this whole showboating about if you can't withstand the heat? Because it's more embarrassing to showboat and then come bending over, when you could just shake the guy's hand and say, okay, we'll do what you want, because you're not asking for much. Trump is only asking China to essentially stop sending illegal people to essentially the United States, and stop sending certain products, which I can't mention on live, that are, pharmaceutical products, but from the black market. It's not asking much from China. And China's imposing 15% as a retaliation. With their broken economy, which they're standing on their last leg right now. So this whole showboating from all these countries makes no sense. Even if the EU is announcing they're going to be, not be bullied by Trump, and they're going to impose their own tariffs. The EU is standing on its last leg as well. What's this idea of showboating about? Honestly, The French economy is standing on its last leg with their real estate space. The German automotive space is crashing. There are 3 countries holding the EU together because the rest of the countries pretty much have nothing to offer. And those 3 countries are Germany, France, and Italy. The rest of the EU has nothing to offer. And Italy struggling. Germany has a struggling automotive industry with a massive economic bubble crisis. And France has a massive real estate issue. So every time these countries showboat for no apparent reason, the markets get hit for about 24 hours to 48 hours. That's basically all that's happening. They're showboating for 24 hours of strength and then they cave. So how about you don't 24 hours of showboating and instead just shake the guy's hand? Because all you're doing is causing volatility for 24 hours to 48 hours inside the crypto market space and the stock market. Because we all know you can't withstand the US. Because as much as the US essentially is also aiming, going towards an economic bubble crisis, at the same time, they print the money. Now, China's retaliation essentially goes far beyond those tariffs. For many market analysts, Beijing's antitrust regulators investigated Google to see the companies breached rules of competitive practices in China. So China's trying to hit the US in every angle it possibly can to show that we are strength. And in reality, China is weak. This move shows a deeper approach by China, one that targets American companies, not just American products, and further clouds the already deteriorating US-China relationship. To add the economic pressure, reports say that China added US companies PVH Corp and biotechnology firms to its list of unreliable entities. This designation will restrict their operations in China in terms of imports and exports and investments, a move that may have far-reaching consequences for the companies and the market space. The message from Beijing couldn't be clearer. China is ready to use both economic and regulatory tools to counter US pressure. The effects were immediate and far-reaching. Even Bitcoin, considered a hedge against traditional market volatility, wasn't spared in this moment in time. The drop to 98,500 mirrored the increasing anxiety of investors, not just about the immediate impact of tariffs, but about the economic, essentially, fight between the 2 largest economies in the world. Traditional markets also followed Bitcoin's lead. The Nasdaq's futures were reportedly down 0.6%, as some worry essentially spilled over into the US tech stockpiles, given Google's investigation. The US dollar index, or DXY, rose as investigators fled to safe assets, which is typically during periods of high geopolitical risk. And you know what's interesting? When Canada decided to fight back with tariffs, the Canadian dollars went and the US dollars went up. When Mexico decided to fight in terms of tariffs for a split 24 hours with the US, the Mexican currency went, the US dollar went up. China now showing strength. China showing strength and power and authority. The Chinese yuan went, the US dollar went up. This is why I'm saying this whole showboating of China, the EU, Canada, Mexico, any country, stop showboating. We all know that you're incredibly weak. You have economic bubble crisis situations, and every time you try to showboat, your currency gets devalued. And the country you're trying to showboat against, their currency goes up. So a strong dollar is another essentially headwind as well for Bitcoin and other risk assets. Analysts see it as differently. According to Louise essentially Low, China's lead economist at Oxford Economics, China's retaliation tariffs are symbolic for now. And Beijing is being cautious not to escalate the situation too fast. She, however, warned that this could be a preload to more significant actions if tensions continue to rise. Sean Dawson, the head of research at crypto trading platform derivatives essentially .xyz, painted a bleak picture for the crypto market. He said recent price movements reflect broader concerns about global economic stability. The risk of long trade wars and tightening financial conditions could put essentially sustained pressure on digital assets and the cryptos and the stock market in general. Not all essentially through. Some analysts think that the drop might be temporary, especially if the situation stabilizes or cases where central banks take monetary easing steps to counter economic showdowns. During previous periods of economic uncertainty, Bitcoin hasn't been resilient and often strongly bounced back once the market has adjusted to new conditions. Well, the previous, essentially, tariff war we had lasted, what, 24 hours? Max 36 hours. And the market springed back. It was like an elastic band. Every time we have a tariff situation, the market is like an elastic band. The market gets pulled down like an elastic band, and then 24 hours or 36 hours or 48 hours later, every country that's going up against Trump caves, and the elastic band gets let go, and the crypto market goes back to where it was. Honestly, this whole war between China trying to show strength is the dumbest idea that's possibly came about. Or any country trying to show strength, because every country is weak. And every time they go up against the US, their currencies get devalued straight away. Whereas the US dollars, which they're going up against, get strengthened because it's a safe haven, which means that the US will pretty much never lose. Any uncertainty in the world, wars, tariff situations, trade wars, suings, international suings, the dollar will always get strengthened, which means the US is strong. Which means every country trying to go against the US, it's a losing battle. Basic economics will tell you that. But, some people want to show temporary strength for no apparent reason, which is what China is doing right now. Trying to show temporary strength when they're in an economic bubble crisis situation and their currency is being devalued by the second because they're going up against the US. And Chinese yuan was never that strong. And now it's about to get much more weaker the longer China continues this. This is why I'm saying it's a short-lived battle. Because the longer China continues this, yes, it will have an effect on the crypto market and the stock market. But the longer China continues this, the longer the effects will be on the Chinese yuan. As I said, China is not doing too strong. Which means the longer this continues, the longer their yuan will be affected. Their currency is going to be affected and get. While the US continues going up in strength in their dollar. It's just comedy, It's like children, honestly, trying to show temporary strength to each other. And they're all adults, is the funny part. Every single one of them are adults. But they're all trying to show temporary strength, as if they have any sort of strength whatsoever. Now, before we go through the next news, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. More than happy to answer the questions you may have. So let's see what's going on inside the comment section. Where were we? We were here. I'm going to flip out all of my MDT for HBAR thoughts. You're going to put all of your MDT into HBAR, not financial advice in any sort of a way, but it's great. Obviously, HBAR is better than MDT in the long term, definitely, without a doubt. Not financial advice in any sort of a way. Why not? Have a good one, people. Let's go, Semper. Semper leaving. Thanks, Miles. Let's go, Harry. Hello, Miles, the CMF. Carol, good to see you as well. How you doing, Carol? How you been? Why was the XRP ledger halted today? I think there was some technical issues. What was really happening? Commentator says flipping the switch. That was some great news. Enough of those pesky, hateful lawyers. Facts. Regarding the SEC lawyers being fired, facts. The crypto Caesar David Sachs referred to a BTC reserve today and didn't mention any other crypto. It is true. He did mention a crypto, essentially a Bitcoin reserve, but in reality, it actually states on paper it's a crypto reserve. So the Bitcoin reserve, the Bitcoin part, most likely slipped out of his mouth. But in reality, what has been signed is a crypto reserve, not a Bitcoin reserve. So it was just a moronic slip, you could pretty much say. And it also is because Cynthia Luminous keeps on pushing the idea of a Bitcoin reserve. In reality, that isn't going to happen. It's going to be a basket of cryptocurrencies, because otherwise they would have just signed the Bitcoin reserve and Trump would have signed it. So it was just a slip up, is pretty much you could say. Because Cynthia Luminous keeps on mentioning the idea of a Bitcoin reserve, Bitcoin reserve, Bitcoin reserve, but Trump signed a crypto reserve. Now, Chicago. Chicago's exchange sees a crypto boom happening. So with all that news that's going on, good, and the whole China showboating situation, Chicago Exchange has came out and said this. Recent data from Chicago's essentially exchange group, CME, highlights a striking upswing in both the trading volume and essentially nominal volume of cryptocurrency contracts for January. The data has basically just came out today, what's been happening in the Chicago Exchange in January in terms of cryptocurrency contracts. The exchange noted an average daily trading volume of approximately 198,000 contracts, accumulating a total value of $13.6 billion. The CME recorded an impressive 180% year-over-year rise on crypto contracts. Notably, micro Bitcoin futures surged by 255%, while micro Ether futures increased by 223%, showcasing strong interest in smaller contract sizes. The CME's offerings include smaller, essentially micro contracts that are valued at just 0.1% of the standard contracts, allowing traders to implement more precise, essentially trading strategies and manage their risk more effectively. In addition, CME provides contract options for more popular cryptocurrencies, enabling traders to make transactions at fixed prices on designated dates, thus increasing trading flexibility. In January's trading volume reached an impressive 25.7 million contracts. Noteworthy plans included essentially launching options on Bitcoin's Friday futures starting February 24th, essentially, and upon the regulatory approvals. The data that came out today on what happened in January essentially indicates a growing trend towards a higher trading volumes and diverse products offerings in cryptocurrencies. Traders can benefit from these trends by considering the following points: significant increase in micro futures trading, expansion of product offerings including options, potential for enhanced risk management strategies, and the rising number of underscore a robust interest in cryptocurrency trading, suggesting that traders are adopting their strategies to leverage these essentially emerging opportunities more effectively. So on those basis, essentially, even though we do have, the good news and regulations coming out and the China news overshadowing pretty much everything, CME is coming out with data showing that there is still an immense amount of interest for cryptocurrency purchase coming in from the corporate sector for the ETF space, but through small contracts. Now, on the topic of more positivity, FTX Exchange. Now, FTX Exchange, if you don't know, the most simplest way to put it, one of the biggest crypto exchanges that just went because their founder decided to steal everybody's money and spending on buying yachts and Bugattis and penthouse upside down and doing upside down pineapple activities with it. And FTX Exchange has decided to pay back their people, everyone that lost money pretty much on it. Now, why is that good news that FTX is going to be refunding people? Well, because FTX Exchange is not going to be refunding people crypto. It's going to be refunding people either fiat or stablecoins, and a very, very small, tiny percentage of crypto. Which means if people are about to get refunded stablecoins essentially in fiat, it means that people will have money to enter back inside the crypto sector. And how much is this amount of money, for example? Is it a lot to move the crypto space? Yes, it's a lot to move the crypto space into a good path. Not give it a drastic jump, but it's a good path, which is $16 billion. So here it is. In a significant development for creditors of the collapsed cryptocurrency exchange FTX, the company has announced that it will commence repayments on February 18th, 2025. And this marks a pivotal moment nearly 3 years after the exchange's dramatic downfall in November 2022. The repayment plan, which received court approval as a part of FTX's broader essential recognition strategy, will initially focus on creditors with claims of $50,000 or less. This group, referred to as the convenience class, represents approximately 98% of the eligible creditors. The total amount essentially allocated to these repayments is estimated to be around $16 billion is going to be refunded, with initial essentially reimbursements of projected to be between $6.5 billion and $7.5 billion. Key details of the repayment process. The start date of the payments will begin on 10 a.m. Eastern Time on February 18th, 2025. Eligible creditors, the first phase will be prioritizing those claims under $50,000. Interest rate, creditors will receive 100% of their claim value plus an additional 9% interest calculated from November 11th, 2022 until the payment date. Distribution partners, in terms of payments, will be processed through BitGo Exchange, a crypto custody platform ensuring secure transactions. This repayment initiative is a part of a larger effort to recover funds for FTX creditors, following its bankruptcy into its filings. The court-approved plans aims to provide substantial recovery for many affected customers, with some expected to receive up to 119% of their claimed accounts valued based on their essentially pre-collapse valuations. As the repayment date approaches, market analysts are closely essentially monitoring potential impacts on cryptocurrency liquidations and cryptocurrency liquidity, not liquidations, on cryptocurrency liquidity and trading dynamics. A lot of people are looking forward to the whole FTX repayment situation because $16 billion, the majority of it will most likely funnel back inside the crypto space. Some people might get their payments back, their repayments, reimbursements, or refunds back from FTX and decide to not enter the crypto space. But I think the majority of them will probably enter back inside the crypto space. So that could, roughly close to $16 billion will re-enter the crypto space. The announcement has already sparked increased trading volumes in major cryptocurrencies, and optimism is slowly coming back. The unfolding repayment process not only offers hope to FTX former essentially customers, but also serves as a critical case study for future of digital asset management and regulatory frameworks within the cryptocurrency industry. So if you were someone that was affected essentially by the whole FTX situation, you're about to get your money back. If you had not more than $50,000, but less than $50,000, you're about to get a refund if you already signed up for it through the whole FTX situation through BitGo. But on a bigger note, that is a massive positive note because that's about $16 billion that's going to be re-entering the crypto space, roughly about $16 billion, just in case some people decide not to enter. But the good thing is they're not getting refunded in crypto because that will most likely make them sell. Some might decide to sell. But because they're getting refunded in fiat or essentially stable coins, excellent. It means that they have money to spend to buy instead of sell. Now, I've said on this live that, sometimes I get asked the question of meme coins. Sometimes some people ask me questions on meme coins, and I preferably, don't go towards meme coins in any sort of a way. But sometimes I get asked the question. And I've always said that I do own 2 meme coins that I brought a very long time ago. But I never mentioned them because I don't want people to go towards meme coins. Because I prefer the long-term route rather than the short-term route. However, something interesting has happened. One of those meme coins that I do hold, so as I said previously, long time ago, I said this as well. I hold Shiba, which I said, and I also said the meme coin projects that might survive everything that's thrown at them. So there's a few meme coins that might survive everything that's thrown at them. And I said Dogecoin is one of those meme coins that will survive because of Elon Musk. And I said Shiba will survive because Shiba will be used for money purposes, washing. And I said Lunacy will survive due to its community. And I said that's pretty much it. I don't think the rest will survive. Maybe Bonk if it's being used for washing as well. But, well, I've always said that as well. One of them, Shiba, which I never share Shiba news because it's never major news. Until now, the UAE, the United Arab Emirates government, and Shiba Inu to energize Web3 in the UAE. So Shiba Inu, regarding the whole Shiba OS they've been creating all this time, has got involved in Web3. And they signed a contract, apparently. The UAE Ministry of Energy, MOEI, has struck a partnership with Shiba Inu to develop Web3 solutions in energy infrastructure and more. As per the press release, the partnership will mark a new era in Web3, leveraging Shiba Inu's broad range of Web3 technologies to support public service efficiencies, green infrastructure, and citizen-focused governance models. The UAE's Ministry of Energy will leverage Shiba Inu's operational system, Shiba OS, to unify development across all MOEI operations. Engineer Sharif Al-Omar, Undersecretary for Energy and Petroleum Affairs at MOEI, noted that the partnership is pivotal in redefining government services and that the UAE aims to set a global benchmark for innovation. He stated, by embracing emerging technologies, we aim to deliver transformative solutions that benefit both our citizens and the wider community space. Additionally, Engineer Sharif stated that the UAE is building a future that is sustainable, connective, and digitally excellent. The lead visionary for Shiba Inu's team added that we're thrilled that the ministry sees Shiba Inu as a cornerstone for the next generation of infrastructure. He believes that the partnership showcases the power of Shiba Inu in delivering groundbreaking solutions that together both the UAE government and Shiba Inu will redefine essentially how businesses and citizens collaborate in a transparent and eco-friendly digital framework. The news is not surprising for the UAE, as the UAE government launched the Blockchain Strategy 2021 in 2028 to capitalize on blockchain technology and transform 50% of government transactions. The UAE's government had expected that this strategy would save more than $3 billion in transactions and document processing, $108 million in printed document annually, and 77 million working hours. In January 2025, Mark essentially Natal advisors noted that the blockchain industry in the UAE is experiencing remarkable growth with an annual rate of 42%. Over the past week, blockchain initiatives have seen renowned momentum with significant developments such as the UAE KYC blockchain platform led by Dubai's Department of Economy and Tourism and powered by Nordic Blockchain, welcoming the first essential insurance member of the credit infrastructure of the ECI in the United Arab Emirates. And meanwhile, the Dubai Integrated Economic Zones Authority, the DIEZ, and the Dubai Land Department, DLD, have joined forces to promote the use of modern technologies, including artificial intelligence and blockchain, within the real estate and property technology, PropTech sectors. So, Shiba Inu is signed, believe it or not, Shiba Inu is signed to the UAE's Ministry of Energy. It's the new partnership, which is incredible for anybody holding Shiba. And seems like I was right about the whole, what do I think is going to last from meme coins? I said Doge will survive because of Elon Musk. I said Shiba will survive because of washing, but it turns out Shiba landed a contract. And I said Lunacy will survive because of his team, but everything else in terms of memes will pretty much disappear unless they're being used for washing. But if you are someone that's holding Shiba Inu, that is wow. Now, on the topic of major partnerships, R3 quarter, which is basically XDC. R3 Sustainability Chantai launches a $795 million tokenized ESG fund. And here it is. R3 Sustainability has partnered with Chantai to launch a new sustainable blockchain-based investment fund. R3 Sustainability will leverage Shanghai's Layer 1 L1 blockchain for the development of essentially a $795 million real-world asset, essentially tokenization fund focused on environmental, social, and governance ESG investing. The fund is a part of the growing real-world asset tokenization sector, essentially, and which refers to financial and other tangible assets minted on the blockchain ledger, increasing essentially the investor accessibility and trading opportunities. Tokenization creates more direct, efficient, and scalable ways to access liquidity, according to Josh Gordon, the managing director of Shanghai. By reducing investment costs, the fund aims to open new infrastructure financing opportunities to broader audiences, and Gordon told Cointelegraph on an interview, "This isn't only about ESG, it's about fundamentally transforming how capital flows into industries that have been dominated by expensive investment banks for decades." The $795 million fund comes during growing interest of the real-world asset sector, a day essentially after the on-chain real-world assets hit a new record high of $17.1 billion across 82,000 total asset holders, excluding the value of stablecoins, according to the data from the realworldassets.xyz. Sustainable utility infrastructure is a massive and growing investment sector inside the US, largely driven by increased onshoring of manufacturing, according to Kyle, the founder of R3. These projects typically require multiple rounds of investments to reach completion, and an area where blockchain and tokenization provides significant advantages. The fund contains 4 major sustainability programs, including $50 million energy-efficient remote workforce, housing programs, and near-term expansion opportunities for $150 million of capital. Second, $165 million early-stage development fund for industrial projects, and $180 million fund for reverse planet, essentially plant focused on serving a large industrial complex in Texas. And lastly, the Real World Assets Fund will set aside $300 million for reassurance efficiency program focused on converting wastewater solids from chemical manufacturing complex into a fertilizer product for North America. The Real World Assets Fund opportunity lies in the scales of investment and characteristics of the utility infrastructure, said Robert. Now, the ASCE estimates that $105 billion funding gap in the US water and wastewater infrastructure, a figure that can only grow with the rise of data centers and industrial complexities. These assets often have the contract duration to 20 to 40 years, making secondary markets a game changer for liquidity and investment flexibilities. So, R3 Corridor is about to get a boost, which means XDC will get a boost eventually as well. And $795 million, roughly, we're getting close to $1 billion, is about to be invested into ESG. ESG is just another form of saying carbon footprint, which is another way of saying social credit systems for industries, for industrials, not for the retail section. But in the simplest form to put it, that is excellent news for XDC in the long term. Excellent news. Now, because other companies that are also involved in this whole carbon footprint or ESG section is Ripple. Ripple has invested heavily into ESG. XLM has invested into ESG as well. HBAR is into ESG as well. AVAX is also into ESG. So this whole ESG section is excellent because corporates love the idea of that, which means more money will be allocated towards them. Now, yesterday I was being asked many questions on the whole XRP, Japan, and SBI. Today I have some news on that. But before we go through it, let's go inside the comment section first. And actually, let's go to the comment section first before we go through that news. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down in the comment section. So let's see what's going on in the comment section, and we go straight into that news. The crypto Caesar David Sachs referred to a BTC reserve today, and I read that one already. That Shiba news is fantastic. Been holding some for about 4 years too. Let's go back. Shiba is on ETH. Will this affect sell-off, or if I switch to ORUSD later, fees and ETH? Fees will probably be high when that sell-off situation does happen, if you do want to sell them off. But it's not on ORUSD yet. If it does go, obviously I will do the exact same thing as well. But it's happy prices. It's not available on ORUSD yet. So it's only on ETH. So if it does come to selling your Shiba Inu at some point down the line, if you want to sell it, you will have to pay the fees in ETH. Unless Shiba decides to go on Ripple's XRP ledger, which I don't know if they will. But yeah. But ETH fees. Thanks, Erica, no problem. It's me, Chicago. Let's go. You're always right. Let's go, Troy. Now, here it is. Japan. SBI, Ripple, XRP. A lot of people want to know, is this going to be happening? Is Japan, SBI, and XRP going to be happening? Now, what I can tell you is what I said yesterday, regarding deadlines. They have mentioned in the past, there's been some hints of 2025 being the start date for XRP and SBI and Japanese banking system. So here is some things you should know about regarding Japan, SBI, and XRP. Japan's banks to adopt XRP in a big way. In a groundbreaking development for the world of finance, Japan's banking sector is poised to fully embrace Ripple's cryptocurrency XRP. This monumental shift, confirmed by SBI Holdings CEO, and it is confirmed by the CEO, is set to redefine the landscape of cross-border transactions and currency exchanges, positioning XRP as a pivotal player in modern finance. It is all true. SBI Holdings CEO has said in Japan that XRP is pretty much the chosen project for them, and it's going to be happening this year. Japan's banking system, valued at an impressive $6.372 trillion, is gearing up for an unprecedented integration of XRP. This move is not merely a technological upgrade. It represents a fundamental change in how banks will conduct international transactions. The adoption of XRP could streamline remittances and drastically reduce transaction costs and significantly enhance transaction speed. Unlike Bitcoin, which has often been criticized for its volatility and speculative nature because it has no utility purposes, XRP offers a unique utility that makes it particularly attractive for banking institutions. Its transaction speed, averaging just a few seconds, combined with its low fees, allows for real-time cross-border payments. This efficiency positions XRP as a viable bridge currency capable of addressing inefficiencies that have long prolonged the traditional banking systems. The buzz surrounding Japan's banking sector in terms of adoption of XRP has initiated excitement among crypto analysts, who have predicted significant surges in XRP's price value. So let's just do a little simple thing. For example, because it was confirmed by the CEO of SBI that XRP is the chosen product, the chosen currency for the banking system in Japan. It was confirmed by the CEO. So what prices are we looking at? For example, well, current forecast suggests 1%. If we have 1% adoption, just 1% adoption, forget about 100% adoption, just 1% adoption could drive the XRP price to approximately $3.50. So if Japan's SBI, for example, is using XRP for only 1% of their transactions, XRP's price will jump to $3.50. That's excluding the retail section and other companies and so on and so on. Just Japan's banking system, 1%. And not every bank, just the SBI ones. If it's 10% adoption, the price will rise to $13.48. You get the picture. Again, just the ones that are SBI holdings and excluding the current price that we have now or any of the banks that get involved. But what this essentially does is get other banks and organizations involved from outside of the banking, from essentially on terms of international basis, and more domestic businesses and domestic essentially banks will also get involved as well. And again, that's just 10% adoption at $13.40, excluding everything else, excluding the tokenization part of XRP in terms of price and the derivatives markets and so on, excluding all that. Just that 10%, we're looking at that price. These predictions highlight the potential for XRP to not only gain traction in Japan, but also to serve as a catalyst for global adoption, setting a precedent for other economies to follow in suit. Japan's adoption of XRP could have far-reaching implications. As the first major economy to integrate this cryptocurrency at a national scale, Japan is setting a powerful example that may inspire other countries to rethink their own banking strategies. The potential for essentially a global ripple effect is immense, and traditional banks worldwide may feel compelled to adopt their blockchain strategies to remain competitive. Now, I also want to mention, par note, that Saudi Arabia's banks also mentioned that they're using Ripple's technology. They're using XRP and Ripple's technology as well. And they've been using it for over a few years now, testing on and using it for their payments. Now, the CEO of SBI Holdings has long been a vocal advocate for XRP. His belief in XRP's utility over Bitcoin underscores a shift in how cryptocurrencies essentially are perceived in financial ecosystems. Quito essentially envisions a future where XRP facilitates a faster, low-cost international payments, particularly benefiting remittances-heavy economies like Japan. This leadership from SBI Holdings not only strengthens XRP's position within Japan, but also enhances its credibility on the global stage. As far as financial institutions observe the successful implementation of XRP, they may be more inclined to explore similar integrations, further expanding its use case and market presence. While the prospects of XRP adoption are promising, challenges remain. Regulatory scrutiny around cryptocurrencies continues to evolve in some jurisdictions, and the banking sector must navigate these complexities. Moreover, the successful integration of XRP will require robust technological infrastructure and ongoing collaboration among financial institutions. For XRP to achieve its full potential in Japan and beyond, regulatory clarity will be essential. As I said, the first green light XRP needs is the case to be dismissed and settled. The second green light is regulations due to what due to what Ripple wants to achieve with XRP being inside the banking sector or in the corporate sector. It needs to have regulations in place from jurisdictions around the world, so they don't operate in gray areas. And that's the second green light. And the third green light is adoption, which is basically what SBI Holdings is trying to tell everyone. A balanced approach will provide the stability needed for banks to adopt XRP confidently, so there's no gray areas, which is the second green light, regulations for international domestic payments. As countries' banks, essentially, Japan's impending adoption of XRP marks a significant milestone for the evolution of global finance. As the country's banks prepares to integrate this cryptocurrency, the implications for cross-border transactions, cost efficiencies, and transaction speeds are profound. The success of this initiative could not only elevate XRP's status in the cryptocurrency market, but also set a precedent for other nations to consider similar pathways. As we stand on the brink of this new financial era, the world watches closely to see how Japan's bold move will shape the future of banking and cryptocurrency integrations. In a landscape where innovation is consistent, Japan's commitment to XRP could very well signal the dawn of the new age in financial transactions, one that prioritizes efficiency, transparency, and accessibility for all. So, on the topic of, people were asking me yesterday, and I've discussed SBI in the past as well regarding Ripple when it comes to the contracts in place. But because of what I was asked yesterday, essentially on this live, regarding SBI and XRP, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Yes, it is going to happen. And it was confirmed a while ago by the CEO of essentially SBI Holdings. It was confirmed a very long time ago that it's going to happen. And it's guaranteed pretty much to happen, is what I'm trying to say. It's not financial advice in any sort of a way, but it is the words of the CEO of essentially SBI Holdings. It's his words. So in his words, it is going to happen. And now a very small point of if it's 1%, what the price is going to be. If it's 10%, what the price is going to be. But it's going to have broader implications than that, because if it goes to 100%, but then we're talking very extremely high figures, which is what's going to be happening. But also, it's going to be other banks getting involved in terms of domestic payments and international, in terms of domestic payments and international payments. But we've also got to consider that the figures that I just talked about are only SBI partnered banks in Japan, for example, and that, for example, India has also mentioned that that they've been using Ripple's technology and XRP's technology in a PowerPoint presentation that they did. And we've also had essentially a PowerPoint presentation from Saudi Arabia where they discuss matters that they are using Ripple and XRP's technology as well. There's a lot of banks using XRP Ripple's technology, and we're pretty much getting to that stage where, if Japan is going to be the first one to flip the switch, then it's going to be creating some sort of a domino effect with the rest of them following. Now, they haven't mentioned a date, but they have mentioned it is 2025. So Japan, banking system, XRP, they've mentioned, yes, it's a green light. They've also mentioned, yes, it's 2025. They haven't mentioned exactly when in 2025. But either way, it's great news. It's good news. It's excellent news. It's amazing news. Is how you should be looking at it. Because a confirmation from the CEO of SBI is all you need. And then talking about the regulation side. The good thing is we're in the year of regulations. I mean, Trump is signing executive order after executive order. This man has not taken a rest since he became president. All I've seen Trump do is sign documentations for regulations to pass. So the good thing is we're in the year of regulations. And what was also mentioned, two things by the Americans today. One, David Sachs said we're in the golden age of crypto. And two, Hester Peirce said this is the beginning of the crypto journey as the SEC Crypto Task Force head. And three, we have SBI Holdings saying pretty much this is the year we're going to go full, banking system in terms of XRP. All in all, a lot of things are going to happen this year. And this whole, back and forward situation with tariffs, it's not going to last too long. Mexico, Canada, already done. Even Justin Trudeau knows it's a losing battle. Canadian businesses are already moving to the US to set up manufacturing. Mexico already pausing everything as well. So Mexico, Canada, it's already done. Trade battle's finished with tariffs. The UK is going to get no tariffs. It's already mentioned by Trump, they're going to have no tariffs. China is showboating for no apparent reason. They have no strength whatsoever. The Chinese yuan right now is day by day, second by second, just declining because it's going up against the US. And in times like this, the US dollar becomes a reserve asset, which means everybody's buying the US dollars right now because China is trying to do a trade war with the US, even though China has a massive economic bubble crisis situation. What I'm trying to say is this whole tariff situation, it won't last more than 48 hours for any country that tries to showboat. The next country or the next collective of basket of countries that are going to showboat their power of strength when they don't have any is going to be the EU. If the EU is smart enough, they will just shake Trump's hand and say, okay, let's work together. But unfortunately, I feel like the EU is also going to be dumb enough to think that they can go up against the US when the EU is crumbling. And as I said, 3 countries pretty much control the EU. They have the money and the power, which is France, Germany, and Italy. And Italy's struggling, Germany's struggling, and France is incredibly struggling. And these 3 are pretty much holding the EU together because the rest of the EU countries have nothing to offer. So, China's situation with the US shouldn't last more than 48 hours because the longer China tries to stretch this out, the longer their currency is getting weakened, which is already bad for them because they have a massive real estate bubble crisis situation that could be worse than 2008 for China. And the EU, if they try to showboat for no apparent reason and show temporary strength, as every country did so far to Trump. I'll be honest, they're all showing temporary strength. Nobody has strength. The US has strength. And Trump is trying to remind these countries that we have the power, not you, is what Trump is trying to achieve. And he's already achieved it with Mexico and Canada, even though Justin Trudeau seems like he has strength, and he doesn't in reality. Because it's very simple. All the US has to do is just cut him by the knee, basically in terms of funding. And China will come, and Canada will come begging on their knees to Trump. So every time we have a tariff situation, it's only going to last 48 hours in the market space, max. Even this last tariff situation we had, Trump versus Mexico versus Canada and tariffs, everybody thought, oh no, oh my God, this is when the market crashes. Everybody run for your lives. This is it. Everybody go home. The crypto market's crashed. Forget about it. That's it. We're going back to essentially back to where we were. We're never going to climb that ladder again. And this is the beginning of the bear market, is what everybody said over the weekend. And I said, max 24 hours, 48 hours, this whole trade war situation will last. And what happened? Monday came around, market went. Because no country is going to be able to last this whole trade war. Only the US will be the last man standing, if any country even is dumb enough to go for a long period of time. I'm being very genuinely serious here. If any country is dumb enough to go for a very long period of time in trade wars, the US will be the last one standing, not the other country. It wouldn't be China who's last man standing. It wouldn't be Russia. It wouldn't be the EU. It wouldn't be Canada. It wouldn't be Mexico. It wouldn't be the UK. It would be none of these countries. The US will be the last man standing. Who prints the money? Who has the power? Every country that goes against the US, what happens to their currency? It gets devalued. What happens to the US dollars? It gets strengthened. Why? Reserve assets. There are so many factors in play. So this whole trade war situation of showboating, max 48 hours, it should last. If it goes anything beyond 48 hours, that country is a fool to think that they can win against the US. Basic economics. Now, on that note, so if you ever do see, the whole trade war situation again, max 48 hours. If it goes beyond 40 hours, that country must be incredibly stupid to think that they can become the last man standing against the US in a trade war battle. So next time you see trade tariff war news, don't worry too much. Don't panic. Max will last us 48 hours, unless it goes a little bit beyond 48 hours, because that country thinks they can be last man standing, which in reality they can't. It's the US that's last man standing. And on the other note, XRP SBI Holdings, it is confirmed. It is confirmed by their CEO. It's going to happen. And on the other note, a lot of good news that did come out today was overshadowed by this ridiculous Chinese showboating going up against the US for no apparent reason. Because the good news that did come out today was we're getting stablecoin regulations. USDT is not on the picture. USDT is going to be bought from America as well, by the looks of it. Because any stablecoin that wants to operate in the US, it has to show essentially audits every month. They have to be full transparent. Also, on the other subject, a lot of people think that the US dollars is going to disappear. A lot of people think that the US dollars is going to disappear forever and no more US dollars and so on. US dollars is going to go to zero. That's never going to happen also. Let me make something very clear to you, that it's the most simplest way to put it. What backs the US dollars? Treasury or bonds, essentially war or whatever. Stablecoins. Number one stablecoin in the world is the US dollars. Now, for example, USDT. USDT to become strengthened, or USDC to become strengthened, or RLUSD to become strengthened as stablecoins, to become massive stablecoins as a digital dollars, what do they need as a backing? US Treasury or bonds, US dollars, and so on. And every time RLUSD buys more treasury bonds, every time USDT buys more treasury bonds, and every time essentially anything buys, US dollar becomes strengthened. The US dollar will always become strengthened because these stable coins are buying those bonds that's backing the US dollars. They're buying it. US dollar becomes strengthened. It's never going to go away in any sort of a way. It's never going to go away. It will become essentially digital, but it'll never go away, is what I'm trying to say. It will become digital, but will never go away. Go and check, the most simplest way is go and check what's backing RLUSD. Go and check what's backing RLUSD. The law for a stable coin in America, the law for a stable coin for digital dollars in America, the law for a stable coin in the EU, what's supposed to be backing a stable coin? What's supposed to be backing stable coin is supposed to be US Treasury bonds, is supposed to be fiat. It could also be silver and gold, but US dollars has to be backed by Treasury bonds. It has to be backed. So they can't go outside of that. At all. So every time stable coins are buying Tether, how many US Treasury bonds do they have? So fiat will essentially evaporate and disappear. But the US dollars will still be the #1 currency, even in the digital world, is what I'm trying to say. What I've always tried to say. The US dollars will always become the #1 coin. It could be on paper and fiat, or it could be in digital. The US dollars will always be #1. Always. #1 stable coin right now in the world is US dollars. It's not the Chinese yuan in stable coins. It's not going to be the Russian ruble in stable coins. It's not going to be the EU stable coin that's going to become the #1 stable coin in the digital world. It's the US dollars. The #1 fiat currency is the US dollars. The #1 stable coin is the US dollars. And it will always remain like that until God knows when we change into a new currency system, which none of us will be alive for by then, for the next one. But #1 fiat currency, US dollars. #1 stable coin will be US dollars. And it will always stay like that. It won't be EU stable coin. It won't be ruble stable coin. It won't be essentially whatever. The US will always be in control. Is what I'm trying to say, which I've always said. But yeah, in short term, these trade wars that's going on, essentially, it's not going to last. The longest these trade wars will last is 48 hours because everybody will cave to Trump's plans. If it goes beyond 48 hours, that country is moronically stupid because it won't be the last man standing. The US will be the last man standing. And in terms of XRP, SBI holdings, it's approved. It's been approved for a while, to be fairly honest. And it was announced in 2025. It's going to be some sort of a movement for it. It hasn't been announced on a date, but either way, it's excellent news. It's amazing news. It's incredible news. And there was a lot of good news, as I said. Essentially, David Sachs mentioned the golden age of crypto is now, or the SEC mentioning essentially the crypto journey begins now today. A lot of good news came out today, but unfortunately, China decided to showboat its imaginary power. And on that note, every good thing must come to an end, which it did right now. This was the endings of tonight's live show. This was episode 255 of the CMF Live. But before we do go, let me go inside the comment section first, just in case I've missed any comments, because I don't want to miss anyone's comments as always. But this is the endings of tonight's live show. This was episode 255. You can tune in for episode 256 on tomorrow's live. Bro, please tell me the Pepcoin today. Pepcoin? I don't know what Pepe Coin's price is going to be. I've never, be fairly honest, I've never discussed Pepe Coin's price point either. You are always right. Let's go, Troy. Tokenization of all things on the XRP ledger will be the future of XRP. A small percentage of derivatives markets alone will be insane. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Or you could, what King of Brits said, true, facts. Or you could risk leaving Shiba on exchanges like Coinbase and switch to RLUSD later. Don't like ETH. You could do that, but exchanges are quite risky, Happy Pisces. Shelly says it's happening in 2025. However, is there any sign of when? There's no final date on when, but it is going to be announced. You're wrong. We have a new US Treasury note. I guess you weren't informed or didn't do your research. US Treasury notes will be backed by gold. Trash. Only RLUSD. Wrong. Gold will be backed. All digital currencies worldwide. Incorrect. All fiat currencies will go away. Fiat currencies will go away. That's true. But Treasury bonds will still exist, and they're all going to become tokenized, and they're all going to be backing essentially. Right now, what's backing RLUSD? Treasury bonds. Go and check for yourself. What's also backing essentially USDT? Treasury bonds. What's backing USDC? Treasury bonds. Any stablecoin, what's backing it right now? So they're backing it by fiat, is backing with treasury bonds, and so on and so on. And all those things, what they do is just essentially strengthen the US dollar. So no, I'm not wrong. I think you should go and check what's backing RLUSD. In fact, go to Ripple's own website. Go to Ripple's own website and check what's backing their RLUSD. If no fiat, wouldn't that mean CBDCs? I thought Trump has ruled them out. No, if no fiat, stablecoins will exist. CBDCs will also exist on wholesale CBDCs in America until retail CBDCs find their place in the US. But wholesale CBDCs will still benefit XRP. 98% of centralized banks, according to Bank of International Settlements, are still in CBDCs in testings, phasing, or implementation or research stages. In terms of stablecoins, every country will have their own stablecoins, but there'll be one dominant stablecoin currency. In terms of CBDCs, 90% of centralized banks are in CBDCs. In terms of the US, they have outlined, the use of CBDCs. But is that going to last? Most likely not, because 98% of centralized banks are in CBDC. And if the US doesn't do a retail CBDC at the forefront, they'll most likely do a wholesale CBDC, because that's how the rest of the world is going to be operating with each other. And in terms of, is XRP going to benefit with or without CBDCs? Either way, it's going to benefit because it's a medium of payment transfer. Good night, Miles, and all CMF. Thank you for all your great news and great live. JP, see you tomorrow, but at the same time as usual. Good night, Miles, and CMF. See you tomorrow. Orphan, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Good night, Miles and CMF. See you tomorrow. Mike, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thank you, Miles. Enjoy your night. Or Lena, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks, Leisure. Night and day, CMF. Let's go, Shelly. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Chevy, Miles is never wrong. Thank you. It is true. I'm never wrong. Thanks for a great live. Good night, Miles. See you tomorrow. Autistic, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. I'm not being cocky in any sort of way. It's just I'm very proud of the wisdom God's given me. So, am I wrong? No, never. Good night, Miles and family. Great live. Many thanks. See you tomorrow. Ian, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Thanks for a great live. Good night, Miles. See you tomorrow. Autistic, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Cheers, mate. Let's go, Kings of Brits. Let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, Miles and family. Troy, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Gold, silver, crypto, guns, and ammo pretty much is backing the US dollars, yes. Well, also Treasury bonds is backing it. When you think XRP will run, when do I think XRP will run? Depends on regulations. The faster the regulation comes, the better it is. XRP always needed 3 green lights. First green light was the case needs to dismiss or essentially settle, was the first green light XRP needs. Second green light XRP needs is regulations due to what Ripple wants to do with XRP. Operating inside the banking sector and operating inside the corporate sector. Corporates don't like to really operate in gray areas because they tend to get sued. So having regulations in place is going to be very beneficial for XRP due to also the amount of licenses it has. So first green light has always been essentially the case needs to go away. Second green light is regulations that be in place due to what Ripple's trying to achieve because of who wants to be involved. And third is pretty much adoption. So it needs 3 green lights to be able to operate. Is it going to get 3 green lights this year? Most likely, yes. First green light, the case is definitely going to be dismissed. There's no point of the XRP even. There's no point of the SEC continuing this case forward under Trump administration because they're supposed to be pro-crypto. And second, in terms of regulations, Trump is signing an executive order after executive order by the looks of it. So we're getting very close to that regulation stage. And third, we do have a crypto task force that was pretty much created overnight when essentially Gary Gensler the left and Hester Peirce being in charge. She's also very pro-crypto, has done many essentially announcements at crypto events and so on. So in general, we're very close to those 3 green lights. Now, good night, Miles and CMF. Great news. See you tomorrow. Free and forever. See you tomorrow. Sometimes you should as well. Elder Glass, you only have to type it in once because I read everybody's questions one by one. When will XRP run? You said that again. Miles, it was a brilliant live as usual. We thank you for your valuable time you share with us. Let's go, Joe. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thank you, Miles. Pierce, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Good night, Miles and CMF Stormy. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Great live as always, Miles. Much respect every time. Let's go, Max. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks, Miles. Good night, fam. Komoto, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Great job tonight, Miles. As always, thanks for everything. Let's go, Scott. See you tomorrow, same time as usual, Scott. I will be seeing, could you imagine if they tokenize Bitcoin on the XRP ledger? That would be interesting. But what would be bigger than that? King of Brits, do you know what would be bigger than that? That would be amazing. But do you know what would be bigger than that? The derivatives, essentially. So the derivatives market space, one of the market spaces is estimated to $4 quadrillion. It's an estimation. They don't even know what its balance is going to be. It's about $4 quadrillion. So that market space being on tokenization space on the XRP ledger is just mind-blowing is what I would say. But yeah, that will be a funny one regarding Bitcoin tokenized on the XRP ledger. Thanks for a great preparation for the show. Let's go, Scott. I will see everybody tomorrow. Same timing as usual, 11:25 p.m. UK time, Monday to Friday. If you're watching this for the first time ever, this was the CMF Live. It stands for Crypto Miles Family. My name is Miles. I go by the persona of Crypto Miles. I'm the host of this live, Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time. This was episode 255. Episode 255 we're on right now. Episode 256 tomorrow. Tune in, 11:25 p.m. UK time. If you've subscribed or followed, thank you so much. And I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Do you think Trump has asked the SEC not to settle with Ripple yet, as he wants them to buy loads of XRP for crypto reserves? Consider it as an outcome, not the outcome. Great job, Miles. Alex, let's go. Don't forget to respond to the show afterwards. Share the live. Let's go, Scott. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. CMF, see you tomorrow, same time as usual, 11:25 p.m.